Hey, okay, so I have a little over 30 minutes to share this. I have been so busy with everything else that I almost forgot to share the counting of the Omer for today. Today is day 26 of the counting of the Omer, which is the sheb, Netzach. Sheb, Netzach, net, you know what it is. It represents humility and endurance. And listen, today has been just beyond amazing, beyond amazing. And I finally like it was just amazing. Like, and all day I just kept thinking, this day is about humility. This day I kept thinking that, but I never had the chance to like sit down with my printout. So I'm not going to read the entire printout, but I am going to read some of the things that stood out to me, such as where it opened by saying that yielding is a result of humility and is essential and an essential element in enduring. Okay, so I did not know that yielding was a result of humility. I didn't know that. Like, a lot of times when you think of yielding, you think of like when you're driving a car or however, and you come, then you have to kind of yield for the next person to go. And it's like a lot of little things that we all do in the course of a day, in the course of living life, in the course of our interacting with others, that actually teaches us without us even knowing. Again, yielding. Yielding, again, when I think of driving. So, then it went on to mention, like, it mentioned a lot of other stuff, and then it talked about how humility does not compromise the drive of endurance, but on the contrary, it intensifies it, because human endurance can only go so far, and we can only endure so much. Whereas endurance that comes from the divine soul is limitless. And I'm like, like when you work, when you operating in your own strength, that's why God be telling us, listen, God be telling us to walk in the spirit, walk by the spirit, not by the flesh, to walk in the spirit. And he be telling us this stuff because when we walk in the spirit, it enables us to endure a lot more. That's like, I just read that. It enables us to endure a lot more. It enables us to withstand things that we couldn't walking in the flesh. Like he's been telling us. And this last part here, it says about like acknowledging God and thanking God for giving us the extraordinary power and versatility to be able to endure despite trying challenges. Like, man, when we acknowledge that all of our strength comes from God, when we acknowledge that here he is, he's telling us what to do and how to do it, and when we try to do it our own way, of course we're going to bump our head. But when we pause for a second, just pause for that second and listen to God and do it how God said do it. Like, this thing ain't religious. It ain't religious. Man. So anyway, this has been a really, really, really awesome day. And there is so much that the Lord has poured into me, especially this issue, because I know I wanted to share it. And so I'm going to kind of give you a Cliff Note version, because I don't know, like, when I'm going to get to it. I don't know if I'm going to write it. I just don't know. But, so, I was looking at, I was in my office and, like, going through with the video that I just released and up from yesterday. And I was looking at Aaron. And what Aaron did when he went to go and my first thing was I was looking at Moses first, and I was looking at how long it was that he was gone, because I knew that the people, the reason they wanted Aaron to make this idol for them to go before them was because they felt like Moses was gone for a long time. And so I found where the second time that he had to go back up into the mountain and get the 10 Commandments all over again, that he was gone for 40 days and 40 nights. The second time. Well, the first time, that's how long he was gone too. 40 days. No, that's not correct. That's not correct. Because he went up, when he first went up, because he, like him, Aaron, it was him, Aaron, it was Joshua, and it was 70 of the elders. They had went to the mountain, I guess, to the mountain. And they had this like amazing experience. I got the wrong Bible in hand. I don't even want to look at that Bible. Because then I get to like trying to figure out where, you know how you mark in one Bible and then you go and you have another one. And yeah, so anyway. They had this amazing experience, because it literally says that they saw the Lord, like, and it was described what they saw, and it was like really awesome. And so then, when that was happening and they were like eating or whatever, God called Moses from them, and so Moses told, you know what, I got to share this with y'all. I just got to share this with y'all. So I'm going to my office, because this, like, when I tell you, it is so interesting. It was so interesting. Okay, let me get my Bible. It was so interesting. Like, this kind of blew me away. So it is Exodus chapter 25. Exodus chapter 25. Let me put this on a stand. Exodus chapter 25. So I can use both my hands, okay? Exodus chapter 25. Here we go. Okay, so it's Exodus chapter 25. It's verse number 9. I have my glasses. You know, I never know when I'm going to do a video. I never know. Like, I knew I wanted to share this with y'all because it just blew me away. Okay, here we go. Exodus chapter 24. Excuse me, I was saying chapter 25. It's Exodus chapter 24. It's verse number 9. So it says, then Moses went up, also Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, which was Aaron's sons, and 70 of the elders of Israel. And they saw the God of Israel. I had to underline that. I'm like, ooh. It says, and there was under, and so now they described it. This is verse 10. It says, again, this is Exodus 24. It says, and there was under his feet, as it were, a paved work of sapphire stone, and it was like the very heavens in its clarity. Verse 11, but on the nobles of the children of Israel, he did not lay his hand. So they saw God, and they ate and drank. And I'm like, okay, you know what? So I wrote this. I had took note of verse 11 because I kind of wanted to go back. I'm like, wait, what? Because it says, but on the nobles, which will be these, it says on the nobles of the children of Israel, he, talking about the Lord, did not lay his hand. So they saw God, and they ate and drank. Then the Lord says to Moses, he says, come up to me on the mountain and be there, and I will give you tablets of stone. So there are three things that God was going to give to Moses. He said, I will give you tablets of stone, and the law, and commandments which I have written, that you may teach them. Verse 13, so Moses arose with his assistant Joshua, and Moses went up to the mountain of God. And he said to the elders, wait here. So this was Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, and the 70 elders, right? He says to them, wait here wait for us here until we come back to you. Indeed, Aaron and Hur, now we know that Hur, H-U-R, Hur, was from the tribe of Judah. I had learned this a while ago. It says, Aaron and Hur are with you. If any man has a difficulty, let him go to them. Now, here's the significance in that. Hur is of the tribe of Judah, right? That represents the kingdom, the government, and Aaron represented the priesthood. And Moses says, if anybody has any problems, let them go to them, Aaron and Hur. So it says, then Moses went up into the mountain, and a cloud covered the mountain. It says, now, this is verse 16. Now, this is where it gets really good and juicy to me. It says, the glory of the Lord rested on the mountain, and the cloud covered it 6 days. 6 days. Now Moses and Joshua, they go up into this mountain, right? The cloud covers it for 6 days. For 6 days, Moses is up there, but he's not hearing anything. Why? Because God is working. God said, 6 days you shall work, and on the 7th day you shall rest. Now, I didn't finish reading that verse yet, but check this out. 6 days. God told Moses, he says, come up to me on the mountain and be there, and I will give you tablets of stone. These are tablets that God himself cut and wrote on, tablets of stone, and the law and commandments which I have written, that you may teach them. So there are 3 things that God is going to give to Moses. And so Moses goes up with his assistant Joshua. He goes up into this mountain, and he's up there. So he's already up there 6 days, but nothing is being said. Nothing is being said because God is working. So here, go back to verse 16. This is Exodus chapter 24. It says, and this is the King James Version. It says, now the glory of the Lord rested on Mount Sinai, and the cloud covered it 6 days. And on the 7th day, remember the 7th day is a rest, God called to Moses out of the midst of the cloud. So for 6 days, Moses is up there, but he ain't hearing nothing. But on the 7th day, he calls to Moses, verse 17, the sight of the glory of the Lord was like a consuming fire on the top of the mountain in the eyes of the children of Israel. So he's telling you what they're seeing. It says, the sight of the glory of the Lord was like a consuming fire on the top of the mountain in the eyes of the children of Israel. So Moses went into the midst of the cloud and went up into the mountain, and Moses was on the mountain 40 days and 40 nights. Then the Lord, now from chapter 25 all the way to chapter 31, God is talking. I can't wait in my Israel Bible to get to that part, because God is talking and God is teaching Moses. He's writing down. He says he's going to give him tablets of stone. So he's writing the 10 Commandments on these tablets of stone, and he is giving Moses the law and the commandments, right? And so he's teaching Moses about the offerings that are done at the sanctuary, about this Ark of the Covenant, the Ark of the Testimony that they're going to do, the table of showbread, a golden lampstand, the tabernacle. Like, he's teaching Moses all this stuff. He's teaching him about the priestly garments and just about everything. And, like he's teaching Moses. And so then he says, this is chapter 31, verse 12, and the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, speak also to the children of Israel, saying, surely, for real, whenever I see surely or indeed, for me it's like saying for real, like this is true. Surely my Sabbaths you shall keep. Sabbaths, plural. Surely my Sabbaths you shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you, throughout your generations, that you may know that I am the Lord who sanctifies you or cleanses you. The Lord does that. It says, you shall keep the Sabbath, therefore, for it is holy to you. Everyone who profanes it shall surely be put to death. For whoever does any work on it, that person shall be cut off from among his people. Work shall be done for 6 days, but the 7th is the Sabbath of rest, holy to the Lord. Whoever does any work on the Sabbath day, he shall surely be put to death. Therefore, the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath, to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations as a perpetual covenant. Perpetual means never changing or ending. It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, and on the 7th day he rested and was refreshed. It says, and when he had made an end of speaking with him on Mount Sinai, talking about Moses, when God finished speaking to Moses, he gave Moses the tablets of testimony, tablets of stone written with the finger of God. Then it starts talking about it, like when this is happening, there's this split, and you now are taken to what's going on in the valley. And what it says is, now when the people that saw Moses delayed, that when people saw that Moses delayed coming down from the mountain, the people gathered together to Aaron and said to him, come make us gods that should go before us. For as for this Moses, the man who brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we do not know what has become of him. Why? Why did they not know? When they could have easily looked at the mountain and seen that the fire was still going on in the mountain, the presence of the Lord was still there. Why did they not know what was going on with Moses? Listen, this is the notes. It says, when the people saw that Moses delayed coming down, presents the situation from the viewpoint of the people. So where that's written at, it says the preceding verse about the Lord having finished speaking and having given Moses the tablets indicates that their notion was mistaken. Moses could not have returned sooner. He had been summoned by the sovereign Lord and could only leave when he was dismissed. Moses was before the king of all kings. He was summoned before the sovereign Lord. It's like this. We gon' you on the phone. Your kids is little. You on the phone and you're having an important phone conversation on the phone, and your kids is just going to like mom, but you on the phone. So what you do is, so that won't happen again, you teach your child respect. You teach your child that when you're on the phone taking care of business phone call, they're not to do that. Or when you're standing and you're talking in a conversation to another adult and your child is steady pulling on you, you teach that child respect. These people was like little kids. Those Israelites that was still in the valley was like little kids. They felt like, because Moses was not responding or had not come back when they wanted him to come back, that they could just do whatever, basically. But listen, Moses, I love how it said this in the notes, that he had been summoned to come up by the sovereign Lord, the creator of all, the one whose exhalation is the very air that we breathe. His breath is in our body. He wakes us up, we go to sleep. Listen, and when I say we go to sleep, is by his will we're alive. By his will. So it says Moses had been summoned by the sovereign Lord and could not leave, and could leave only when dismissed. Moses had been summoned by the sovereign Lord and could leave only when dismissed. It says their way of speaking about this Moses, the man who brought us up out of the land of Egypt, gives insight into their ungrateful attitude. Ungrateful for the fact that they're not slaves no more. It says what they said was insulting to Moses and also to the Lord, since it ignored his involvement. This Moses, the man who brought us up out of Egypt. It says it matched their earlier complaints. The assumption seems to be that Moses, not to mention Joshua, had abandoned them. But that was like, it's real like self-serving. They wanted him to come back, and they wanted him to come back immediately. But what about the fact that who he was standing in front of? When you're handling business, or when you're in the presence of somebody that's like really influential, you're gonna be there and you're gonna take care of your business until you are done. Like, you know that it's a privilege for you to be before like whoever you're before, whatever this influential person is. And I'm putting it like on our level so that we could kind of understand, like, when we go to take care of business, we are taking care of business, and we will do whatever we have to do and we won't see or leave until we're finished. But they wanted him to like come back immediately or however. So the fact that they looked at it like that. So anyway, the note continues. It says, while Moses was viewing patterns and receiving detailed instructions about building the tabernacle and its furnishings, and about consecrating Aaron as priest of the Lord, Aaron makes a golden calf, sets up an altar, and began making sacrifices on it. To worship a calf fit well with both Egyptian and Canaanite practices, in which the calf was a symbol of strength and fertility. Play is the same word. Is the same word translated sporting in Genesis 26:8. I think where it says play is because this is the verse here. It says, this is Exodus 32, verse 5 and 6. It says, so when Aaron saw it, no, let me start at verse 4, verse 2. It said, verse 1, Exodus 32:1. It says, now when the people saw that Moses delayed coming down from the mountain, the people gathered together to Aaron and said to him, come, make us gods that shall go before us. For as for this Moses, the man who brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we do not know what has become of him. And Aaron said to them, break off your golden earrings, which are in the ears of your wives, your sons, and your daughters, and bring them to me. So all the people broke off the golden earrings which were in their ears and brought them to Aaron. And he received the gold from their hand, and he fashioned it with an engraving tool and made a molded calf. Then they said, this is your God, O Israel, that brought you out of the land of Egypt. So when Aaron saw it, he built an altar before it. And Aaron made a proclamation and said, tomorrow is a feast to the Lord. Why did I emphasize feast? A celebration, a holiday. Tomorrow is a holiday to the Lord. It says, then they rose early on the next day, offered burnt offerings and brought peace offerings. And also they're doing sacrifices. They're offering burnt offerings. That's when you, I surrender all to you. I don't know if you ever read the book that I wrote, Iron Sharpens Iron, but it goes into these details about what these offerings are. So that burnt offering is like when you give an all. When it's burnt, everything is given. It says, and peace, they brought peace offerings. So a peace is like a fellowship offering. It says, and the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play, celebrate, have fun. It says, verse 7, and the Lord said to Moses, go, get down, for your people whom you brought out of the land of Egypt have corrupted themselves. They have turned aside quickly out of the way which I commanded them. They have made themselves a molded calf and worshipped it and sacrificed to it and said, This is your God, O Israel, that brought you out of the land of Egypt. And the Lord said to Moses, I have seen this people, and indeed it is a stiff-necked people. Now therefore let me alone, that my wrath may burn hot against them, and I may consume them, and I will make of you a great nation. And then Moses pleads with the Lord before even going back down. Moses, the minute, like he didn't even see everything that happened, he immediately started interceding. He pleads with the Lord, his God, and say, Lord, why does your wrath burn hot against your people whom you have brought out of the land of Egypt with great power and a mighty hand? Why should the Egyptians speak and say, he brought them out to harm them, to kill them in the mountains, and to consume them from the face of the earth? Turn from your fierce wrath and relent from this harm to your people. Remember Abraham, remember Isaac, and Israel, your servants, to whom you swore by your own self and said to them, I will multiply your descendants as the stars of heaven, and all this land that I have spoken of I give to your descendants. It shall be their inheritance, and they shall inherit it forever. So the Lord relented from the harm which he said he would do to his people. And Moses turned and went down from the mountain with the 2 tablets of the testimony. They were in his hands. It says the tablets were written on both sides, and on one side and on the other they were written. Now the tablets were the work of God, and the writing was the writing of God engraved on the tablets. When Joshua heard the noise, so Moses was up further, and he goes up, but when Joshua hears this noise of the people as they shouted, he said to Moses, there is noise of war in the camp. But he said, which is Moses, it is not the noise of the shout of victory, nor the noise of the cry of defeat, but the sound of singing I hear. So it was, as soon as he came near the camp, that he saw the calf and the dancing, and Moses' anger became hot, and he cast the tablets out of his hand and broke them at the foot of the mountain. And then it goes on, and y'all know the story, right? The 10 Commandments story. Y'all know this, but listen to the notes. This is these. It says, perhaps Aaron's declaration attempted to put a better face on the situation. See, Aaron knew he was not supposed to have made a calf worship. He knew better than that. And so what Aaron said was, tomorrow is a feast of the Lord. See, the people said, this is your God, O Israel, who brought you out the land of Egypt. So they basically called God a calf. They said, this is your God who brought you out. Aaron tries to make it like kind of smooth it open. He says, tomorrow is a feast to the Lord. So they looking at this calf now, but they're calling it a feast of the Lord. What does that remind you of? I'm just going to say it. It says, perhaps Aaron's declaration attempted to put a better face on the situation, employing a version of the theory that the end justified the means. But the feast could never be in honor of the Lord when the method it used defied him. This literally is the root of why these so-called holy holidays that man made, Aaron made the calf and then called it a feast to the Lord. Man-made holidays. He go back. Let me go to, because I want to make sure you catching this. Because I know y'all tired of hearing people talking about what this is rooted in this and this is rooted, because you're not getting that part. You're just, that part, like, it's just, we're not getting even down to Halloween now, and you're changing it and calling it, I forget what they calling it now. But the issue of the matter is, it is man made. There is nothing that we can make that can contain God, not even a house. So let me go back to this. It says the feast could never be in honor of the Lord when the method it used defied him. Aaron made this calf. The people said, "This is your God, O Israel, that brought you out the land of Egypt." Aaron sees this and says, "Tomorrow is a feast of the Lord, a holy day, a holiday, a celebration, a feast of the Lord." It says, let me keep going. The word translated corrupted indicates total ruin. In Genesis, as in Genesis chapter 8 verse 24, and in these other verses it says it describes something irrevocably spoiled in such a way that it is no longer of any use. 32:7, it says, oh, okay, right here. So this verse 7, chapter 32 verse 7, it says, "And the Lord said to Moses, Go, get down, for your people whom you brought out of the land of Egypt have corrupted themselves." The note says the word corrupted indicates total ruin, as in Genesis 8:24, or no, as in 8:24, which would be Exodus 8:24. So let's see what that is. Exodus 8:24. Okay, it says, "And the Lord did so. Thick swarms of flies." I hate flies. It says, "And the Lord did so." It says, "Thick swarms of flies came into the house of Pharaoh, into his servants' houses, and into all the land. The land was corrupted because of the swarms of flies." I hate flies, but when there's a whole bunch of flies, it corrupts, or means totally ruins. It says it describes something irrevocably spoiled in such a way that it is no longer of any use. And so when they did what they did, the word is saying, when God said to Moses that they had corrupted themselves, it says that they were no longer of any use, basically. And they did that when they went to celebrate this or use this calf that they made with their hands as a way of celebrating. But yet, here we are. God has given us, he has given us feasts to honor him. He gave it to us. That was the big deal about Moses breaking those tablets, because God created them and he wrote on them himself, and then Moses broke them. And so then when Moses, like after all of that happened, God had told him in chapter 34, I think it is, yeah, chapter 34, he had told him to go and make some more tablets that look exactly like what you broke and bring them tablets to me. So he had to cut some more, and he brought them now to God, and then God wrote on those. But what was happening was a new covenant was getting ready to be instituted. The new covenant was getting ready to be instituted, but God said that he was going to do it different. He said, "I'm not writing on tablets of stone no more." He said, "I'm going to write on people's hearts." So, like, this is a whole big deal. And this is the link between what happened with Moses and the Israelites, and Moses receiving those commandments, and what happened in Pentecost with the fire coming down. See, if you go back to Exodus chapter 24, I think I was reading in. Exodus chapter 24, it says the sight of the glory of the Lord was like a consuming fire on top of the mountain in the eyes of the children of Israel. So what the Israelites saw when Moses was up in the mountain and all of that was happening, it was like a consuming fire. In Pentecost, I need to save this for the day of Pentecost. I need to save this for. Anyway, this was really, 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 really exciting. And going over it, I realized that this was further proof that these man-made holidays is an abomination. This is what's angering God. Like, I did a whole video series on it, called the jealousy of Yahweh, the jealousy of Jehovah, and it's on YouTube. I did a whole series on it when I realized, wait, this is what's angering him. It's these holidays, and we don't know it. And so here we are, we're going in, we're celebrating, we're saying, okay, we're celebrating Jesus' birthday, or we're celebrating his resurrection, but you're doing it how you want to do it. And we can't do stuff like that. Like show God some respect. And when you're trying to do it how you want to do it, that's not showing him respect. It's not showing him respect. And yet here it is. He has actual feasts that he instituted for us to be able to remember, and to remember how great he is, and to honor him. And all he's trying to do is give to us. And yet we can't even acknowledge him on his feast days. We don't even know about it. We're not even being taught about it. Like, it's not being taught, his feast days. Like what do you know about the Sabbath? Who's truly teaching you about the Sabbath? Who's truly teaching this thing about what do you know about Passover? What do you know about the Feast of Unleavened Bread and how it applies today? What do you know about the Feast of First Fruits? Clearly, if you understood the Feast of First Fruits, you'll understand the resurrection. Like what you're calling Resurrection Sunday. The resurrection, the purpose of Jesus getting up on the third day, which was the 16th, like and God gave us the dates. He actually gave us the dates, but we're doing how we want to do, which is crazy. What about Pentecost that is coming up? They're celebrating it today. Today is not Pentecost. like literally today is not Pentecost, but the world is celebrating it today. We're doing what we want to do, and we're literally feeling justified in doing it. And Yom Kippur, what do you know about that? The Day of Atonement, what do you know about that? The days of awe, Rosh Hashanah. Like, we don't know nothing about none of these because it's not being taught. Yet these are the feast days that the Lord himself instituted. And on top of that, the Sabbath. It's not one. It is 52 plus 4. If you don't know the feast, you won't understand the plus 4. But it is 52 Sabbaths. 52. So yeah, today is awesome. Humility and endurance, and it's about yielding. It's about yielding. It says here, standing fast can sometimes be a formula for destruction. We need to learn to yield. And who we need to learn to yield to is God. The scripture says in James, humble yourself under the mighty hand of the Lord, and the devil will flee. We going through stuff. There's so many people. This is my last thing I'm going to say, and I'm going to let it go. But I've been noticing, and it's been all I could do to not really just come out and say that, like, people are focusing on the wrong thing. There's a lot of people talking about witchcraft and witch this and witch that. And I'm like, you should be talking about Jesus. Jesus said that if we lifted him up, we'll draw all men to him. But we want to talk about these witches and this and this with these witches, and I'm a child of God, and but ain't in none of that are you lifting King Jesus up. We need to learn to yield. We need to learn to humble ourselves under the mighty hand of God. When you do that, When you do that, the scripture says, James says, the devil will flee. Yield. That's what this day, day number 26 in counting the Omer, is about. The Had, Sheb, Netzach, or the Had of Netzach, or humility and endurance. Oh, y'all see that little pause? That little pause. Okay, so this is what I forgot and had to add. So I had talked all about Aaron, right? And what Aaron did, right? How about I realized that King Saul, remember when King Saul, he was waiting on Samuel to return. He had just been anointed king, and King Samuel told him to go up, because that's when they first started really having the issues with the Philistines, which is the war that you still see happening over there in Gaza and the Hamas and all that stuff. So, first of all, let me say this. First of all, that war started between the Philistines and the Israelites because of what King Saul's son Jonathan did. His son Jonathan did some stuff. You got to go read it in the book of 1 Samuel. So anyway, Saul was told to go up and wait. Go up and wait for Samuel to come up. And then Samuel was going to do this offering or whatever. And Saul went up and he was twiddling his thumbs, and Samuel was taking too long. Samuel was taking too long. And so Saul decided, instead of waiting because Samuel was taking too long, he decided to offer up the offering himself. That's when he got in trouble. That's when God said to Samuel, he said, As a matter of fact, I'm about to go find it. And that's what made it click with me. I meant to mention that before I read the notes of what I shared about what was going on with Israel in the wilderness, and how they had made God mad, and how everything was correlating, and how it correlates to today. I meant to put that part in, and I forgot, but I cannot end this video without putting that part in. So this is Samuel sealed his rejection. Chapter 15. I was looking at that, but no, let me go back. So he made this unlawful sacrifice. So here it is. So Samuel is being coronated. And this is 1 Samuel chapter 12. And by the way, peace offerings are also known as fellowship offerings, and it's just occasions for being thankful. That's a peace offering. So let's see. This is chapter 12. Saul is coronated, or not a corona, right? Saul is coronated, or he's crowned king. This is his coronation. In chapter 13. I'm trying to see where I want to start. Samuel says to the people, he's talking to the people. Okay, so Saul has been coronated. All right, so this is chapter 13, 1 Samuel. It says, verse 1. It says, Saul reigned 1 year, and when he had reigned 2 years over Israel, Saul chose for himself 3,000 men of Israel. 2,000 were with Saul in Michmash and in the mountains of Bethel, and 1,000 were with Jonathan, his son Jonathan, in Gibeah of Benjamin. The rest of the people he sent away, every man to his tent. Now, who was these men that he chose? These 3,000 men, who were they? They were the warriors. So he had the warriors that was going to be with him, and then he had the ones that was sent with his son. That was in another area. So it says, and Jonathan attacked. Remember I told y'all that this fight between the Philistines and the Israelites was Jonathan's fault. So this is verse 3 of 1 Samuel chapter 13. It says, and Jonathan attacked the garrison of the Philistines that was in Geba, and the Philistines heard of it. Then Saul blew the trumpet throughout all the land, saying, let the Hebrews hear. Now all Israel heard it, said that Saul had attacked the garrison of the Philistines, and that Israel had also become an abomination to the Philistines, which they kind of still are, even down to this day. It says, and the people were called together to Saul at Gilgal. Now, who did the actual attacking was Jonathan, but it was being told that Saul did it. So it says, then the Philistines gathered together to fight with Israel, 30,000 chariots and 6,000 horsemen, and people as the sand, which is on the seashore, and in the multitude. And they came up and encamped at Michmash to the east of Beth Aven. When the men of Israel saw that they were in danger, for the people were distressed, then the people hid in caves and thickets and rocks and holes and pits. And some of the Hebrews crossed over the Jordan to the land of Gad and Gilead. As for Saul, he was still in Gilgal, and all the people followed him, trembling, like they were all afraid of the Philistines. And you know why? The Philistines had them big old giants. That's Goliath people, and so they were all afraid. It says, then he waited 7 days according to the time set by Samuel. Now here's the thing: when Samuel coronated him in chapter 12, he was told to wait. He was told to wait. I didn't read that part because I couldn't find it, but I know it's in chapter 12. So it says, verse 8 of 1 Samuel chapter 13, then he waited 7 days according to the time set by Samuel. But Samuel did not come to Gilgal, and the people were scattered from him. They had scattered, they had fled from where Saul was at Gilgal because they was afraid. It says, so Saul said, bring a burnt offering and peace offerings here to me. And he offered the burnt offering. Now it happened as soon as he had finished presenting the burnt offering that Samuel came. And Saul went out to meet him that he might greet him. And Samuel said, what have you done? And Saul said, when I saw that the people were scattered from me, and that you did not come within the days appointed, that the Philistines gathered together at Michmash, then I said, the Philistines will now come down on me at Gilgal, and I have not made supplication to the Lord. Therefore I felt compelled and offered a burnt offering. In other words, he didn't wait. He pushed ahead. He felt compelled. He felt like his back was against the wall and he was pushed. Y'all hearing this now, right? It says, and Samuel said to Saul, you've done foolishly. You have not kept the commandment of the Lord your God, which he commanded you. For now the Lord would have, he said, for now the Lord would have established your kingdom over Israel forever. But now your kingdom shall not continue. The Lord has sought for himself a man after his own heart. At that moment, it was at that moment that Saul pushed ahead of God. He was rejected. You know what? It's been a wrap for you. Who sing that? It's been a wrap for you. It's a wrap for you, baby. Who is that? Who is that? Mariah Carey? So when it's gone, it's gone, it's gone, it's gone. Y'all know that song. It's a wrap for you, baby. It was a wrap for Saul at that point in time. He pushed ahead. That was the same thing that Aaron did when Aaron made that calf. He did not wait. How does this apply to you and I today? The way it applies to us today is we are supposed to wait on the Lord. Waiting is hard. I'm a living witness. I can tell you, waiting is hard. It's been hard for me to wait when I see everybody else rushing to go back in, and I want to go back in too, but I have to wait because I've bumped my head up against the wall so many times. I know, let me sit my little hand down, and I'm sitting here, and when I tell you, it has become, because listen, Jesus said throw our burdens on him, right? So in the waiting, in the struggle to wait, I've been talking to the Lord about it. I've been talking, y'all, listen, I have had to deal with hearing little comments about being rebellious and being hard-headed and being disobedient, but all I know is, like, I hear you, and what you don't know is that I really, really want to go back in like everybody else, but I'm sitting here because I learned to wait. I'm waiting until the Lord say, you can do it all you want to, but nope. I've been down that road before. I bumped nope. I bumped my head. I have bumped my head so many times. I have messed up so many times. I have gotten in trouble with the Lord so many times that, and then when I be trying to say, but when you got everybody, you got the whole, and I say the 42,000, when you hear me say 42,000, I am referencing when Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego got thrown into the fiery furnace. But before they got thrown into the fiery furnace, they were standing while everybody else was bowing down. And it was only 3 of them out of 42,000. Only 3 of them out of 42,000 who was obeying God. The rest of them had compromised and bowed down. I'm like, baby, so whenever you hear me say 42,000, that's what I'm talking about. But I'll always try to make sure that I make it clear what I'm talking about. So this issue is an issue of waiting on the Lord, waiting and not rushing and pushing ahead. So Aaron rushed and pushed ahead. He did not wait. Moses said, wait until I come back. And Aaron did not wait. He allowed the fear and the chatter of the people instead of standing up and saying no. Moses said no. And I'm telling you no. In the authority that was given him, he cowered to the people. And then, and so what you gonna do? You cower to the people. Okay, so now you doing what Adam did. We're gonna take this thing all the way back. Now you doing what Adam did. When God told Adam, don't touch the fruit of the tree, it didn't mean that he wasn't gonna give it to him. He was gonna give it to him when he was good and ready to. It was his tree. He said, don't touch the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. He said, in the day you do, you're gonna die. Don't do it. I told you don't do it. But then the woman takes of it, and then she brings it to him, and he takes of it. And what does he say to God? Well, that woman that you gave me, I am so surprised that God did not say, well, what did I tell you? But what did I tell you? Because that's the stuff that we do. That's the stuff that we do here on this earth. When we tell a person don't do something, and then the person come back and say, well, this person said, what we tell the child, well, but what did I tell you? What did I tell you to do? So y'all, this thing is about waiting. Wait on the Lord. Who's that son? Like, I hear music, and so it is Donnie McClurkin, and he says, wait on the Lord, and you'll see he'll always come through. Like listen, y'all know the song. Today is about yielding and endurance. And yielding is hard. It's hard. It's hard to wait, especially when there's so much going on. And who you got to fight is yourself to be still. Be still in the Lord. Be still in the presence of the Lord. Yield. And who we're supposed to yield to is God. This has been an amazing day. I'm so glad that I got that shared, though. I didn't know how I was going to get that shared, but I knew that I needed to. And so I thank you, Lord. I thank you, Lord. Ooh, this has been good. So now the only thing that I have to do now is that other what God showed me about Malachi chapter 3. And I'm looking forward to doing that. But yeah. Now I'm done. Bye.